Okay, this strikes me as kind of funny, so why not? So it's really windy outside and kind of cloudy, so solar isn't very good. The solar trailer is kind of blocking the aisle here and the welder. Eventually, this is supposed to be exactly the kind of place I could use for working on things like bicycles. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's just complete chaos. I've got these little lights that I had bought for the motorcycle. They were just useless, basically. So I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is worth doing or not, but on the bicycle, since I'm only going 5 to 10 miles an hour, especially in the dark on the gravel, this might be better than nothing. Oh, also, I found this when I was moving stuff around. That's a tail light that I had bought to put on the camper shell. So this would look, I mean, it's really thin. This would be perfect on the back of the trailer across the back of the solar panel. E-bikes have a feature for a headlight. And so on the little control panel, you can just push the little button and the headlight comes on. That's good and bad. That'll use some of your power from your motor battery for your lights. So in the dark, you'd be like, oh, do you want to turn the lights on or do you want to get home? Because you'll run out of power if you turn the lights on. So I'm like, okay, so I read the instructions, find out how to do it, find the wire in this taped up bundle that's back here. Check it, it's off, okay, hit the little button, check it again, it's on. Great, this is going to be really slick, except it's taking main battery voltage and sending it to the lights. So it would be like 40 volts going into my lights. Oh, that's no good. And this is what I used on that night coming home in the dark. I had these headlamps, and you just stick this on your head, and it's pretty bright. So I was easily able to cruise along like that. And it's got dimmer settings. So that worked really well. That got me home. I have a spare. These run on AAA batteries. That's one problem because now I got to have enough batteries with me to make sure these keep working. But I used this one for, oh man, probably 4 hours, 5 hours in the dark, 6 hours, something like that. And it was still working when I got home. So, you know, it lasted quite a while. What I'm going to do is I've got one of my smaller 18650 packs. This puts out 12.6 volts. So I'm going to find, I think what I'll do is that black bag I usually have on the front, that'll be my snacks, my phone charger, and I'll have this in there also. Thinking I'm going to just put some clamps up here, mount the lights, and then just have a little pigtail that if I need it I can plug a wire into it, and we'll just go like that. Alright, sometime later. Okay, so the lights, I extended the leads, got some screw terminal tips on them, on both of those. Found this little tiny screw terminal, which is just hilarious. And it's got a little clear cover over it even, so you can kind of see in there, which is kind of cool. XT60, because all my battery packs right now have XT60s. I gotta say though, those Anderson connectors that I used on the charge controller for the solar panel, I like them a lot because you can crimp them. These you have to solder on, okay? And after you solder these, you got to get your heat shrink on there, which I'm just about out of heat shrink, which, okay, that's not a big deal, but the XT, or the Anderson connectors, you don't need to heat shrink. When you slide the connector into the jacket, it's covered, so it's not exposed, which is pretty cool. Alright, so battery pack, it's got 12.5 volts on it or so. So we'll just try this with one first, make sure it works. So plus and minus. Alright, so, okay, switch is off. Light, so switch on. Oh yeah. Okay, that does something. I mean, it's not rocket science, but okay, so this. Okay, so it's overkill. Alright. So now when we hit the switch, yep. The sun completely faded this the lens on these lights. So that'll be that. And we'll put this cover back on. obviously I want the switch where I can get to it. I'm not going to leave the battery plugged in unless I actually need the lights. Upside down. So I got 12.4 on there. Okay. So that would just stay on all the time, but at least you could see if you were about to go into darkness. Okay, so that dropped from 12.4 to 12.3. I would expect, because this battery pack, I've pumped over 100 gallons of water with it through the bilge pump. So I would expect that this battery should run these lights for 8 hours, probably. I've got the ones that are way too big for the handlebars. And on the other hand, I've got the ones that are too small, I think, for the handlebars. This would be, you know, like, it would fit. It's actually pretty close on the 1/2-inch conduit, I think. It's probably too small for the handlebars. I found this one, which is actually probably too big. They come with the rubber jacket on them, so I took that off for something else. I might just hose clamp it on. Turn the lights off so it's at least obvious that this is working, right? Switch. Yay! They're not going to blind anybody, I'm pretty sure. Turns out the little clamps were big enough if I took the pliers and straightened them out and then ran a 1/4-inch bolt through it. So these have the rubber on them, so that helps grip. So I snugged them down a little bit. I can still move them a little bit. Plus there's a screw on the side of the light. If I needed to, I can aim it up or down. I'm like, okay, after being in the dark for a few hours last time with just the headlamp, this gives me a second option. You know what I should do? I should get some little Baja racing light covers for these. That would be hilarious. Like, was it KC highlighters or the Baja or whatever? I know they're not straight right now, but... Cool, that works. Alright, unplug so we don't start it on fire. The way I set it up, I've got one wire on the bike that will come back to about the hitch, and then this wire reaches forward to the hitch, and then I crimped on some more of these spade terminals. This third wire is the bright red for the brake light. I'm not going to wire it now, but what I might do later, get like an electronic flasher so that I could flicker it. No, the black one is the positive for the tail light, and the red one is the positive for the brake light. So it's backwards. If you see here, I went from black to red and black to white, because on the front end I just want to remember that red is positive, but back here it changes. Drives you crazy. So in this case the white is common, so if I can just disconnect this one, okay, you see how bright that is, and then if I plug in the red one, yeah, that's a lot brighter. So bright and not as bright. Oh, that's a lot brighter. If I was in traffic, I would want that. But normally, I mean, like, I'm not where I'm riding, I'm not going to see that happening very often. So I'm just going to leave it on dim. And in this case, these are not going to get used or not disconnected very often. So I'm going to go ahead and tape them together, and I'll tape the loose wire to it. And that's the way the light's wired. Yeah, that's nice and bright. Cool. That's spiffy.